Bets now on our feed at 5. Kids are going back to school. It's that time of year, and we've been getting a lot of questions from parents about COVID, the flu, and a whole lot more.
The whole thing, everybody's concerned. Well, our senior health correspondent, Monica Robbins, joins us on the What's New set to answer some of those questions. Monica, let's start with COVID. Now, we know that parents are a little bit concerned about sending their kids back to school. How concerned should we be with the flu as we send our kids back to the classroom?
You know, that's a great question. I reached out to Rainbow infectious disease expert Dr. Amy Edwards, who is also sending her daughter to school for some answers from about this issue. She says they are expecting an uptick in all infectious diseases when the kids go back to school. That is definitely typical. So that's something for parents to keep in mind.
So this might be the most broad question you've been asked today. You know how I roll.
Yes.
But everybody is concerned about kids, obviously,
Right.
When to get the flu shot, when to get the COVID shot, or the booster, or the vaccine. What's the answer?
You know what? If they're not up to date on their COVID vaccines or the boosters, Dr. Edwards says now is the time to get those. Then you need to get the flu shot in September or October. And keep in mind, the Southern Hemisphere right now is dealing with a very rough flu season, and that's usually what ends up here. So data from Australia shows influenza A is circulating, which typically causes more severe epidemics. Also, get this, 10 to 14-year-olds had the highest infection rate with flu. So flu vaccines may be much more important this season. COVID and flu have similar symptoms, but keep in mind, COVID spreads much easier and is far more contagious longer. So both vaccines very, very important when kids go back to school.
We still don't have the combo shot, right? The flu,
Not
COVID,
yet.
all in
Yeah,
one.
that may be a few years out.
Okay.
Yeah, but we're going to have to wait on that one. Both since the CDC and the ODH changed mask guidelines, what do parents need to know?
You know what? Dr. Edwards says parents should keep in mind that they can still do what's best for their families. So if you have a high-risk family member that could get very, very sick from COVID or flu, she suggests having your kids continue to mask, especially if you don't have the ability to take a lot of sick leaves like some other parents. She also suggests looking for a high-quality child-size N95 mask. Those are now available for kids. You can try out a few, figure out which one fits best. And if you're not a high-risk family and your kids are vaxxed and boosted, well, you can skip the masks. But keep in mind, if those case numbers start to go up, keep the masks around, keep them handy, because you never know when we might need them next.
Again. Where can we get the masks for the kids, the N95?
Actually, you know what? I Google everything.
Me too.
So
Yeah,
so you'll
Amazon?
find them.
I know this isn't scripted and we probably don't have time for it, but the CDC this week made some pretty startling admissions about how they handled all of that. I'm curious your take on that. I was surprised that they were so frank and transparent.
You know, you started right before the pandemic, and I know you and I had this conversation. This is so long overdue, and I was very happy to hear Dr. Walensky come out and say, you know what, we're going to change things up. Our communication was not very good. And my biggest issue from this was in 2001, after 9/11,
Right.
they made the pandemic playbook, and they did not follow it.
Wow.
From page one.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
I wanted your thoughts on that. Monica, thank you.
Yeah.
Sure.
Thank you, Monica.